Welcome to a very special edition of Date Night with the Dialogue Wheel. It's neither a date nor a night. It's in 7 day, in fact, and we are celebrating and remembering the best game series in the galaxy, Mass Effect. Everyone, let's introduce ourselves.
I am Evan, and I generally choose Paragon, but I feel that there is enough Renegade mixed in there to throw in the even better choice of being a Paragade. So, I like to punch things from time to time, or headbutt a Krogan.
Hi, I'm DA Fan, a YouTuber, and I am also a Paragate because sometimes people just need to get a punch in the face.
Or even a face in the face.
Or a punch in the punch.
Or a face in the punch.
Oh my.
I'm Tyler, and I am what those two are, except with the little less renegade kicked in there, because I don't really make a habit of punching people in the face, or facing people in the punch, or whatever different things we said we were doing.
And I, of course, am Chachi Bobinks, aka Chachi Shepherd, aka Paragon Specialist, as I like to not overly complicate things, and I just don't like to do mean things either, because I'm a nice person.
She lies! Don't trust her!
Lie.
Hey, Chachi, we don't do mean things, we just punch those who deserve it.
I punch one person who deserves it, and we'll probably talk about that later. So.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so our mission tonight is to discuss Mass Effect and everything it means to us, and what we love about it, because if we're anything in this world, it's passionate about BioWare games. And for me especially, Mass Effect kind of hit this part in my soul where I needed to have some awesome sci-fi adventure. So to start off, let's talk about our first impression, that first playthrough, those first thoughts through your head. Evan, how did you feel when you first started playing Mass Effect?
When I first started playing Mass Effect, honestly, a lot of things went through my head. One of them, not even gonna lie, was, this would be a really good engine to run a new Knights of the Old Republic game on.
Right.
But other than that, really, throughout the entire playthrough, especially once I finished the first playthrough, I was just extremely satisfied with everything. With the story, the universe itself, the way that they portrayed everything from Fukushima drives to space magic. And it just felt really, really fleshed out. And besides that, even from a gameplay perspective, I felt by the end of my first playthrough that whether or not I made all of the best decisions, I felt like all of my decisions were, well, for better or worse, gonna change the fate of the galaxy. So it was a lot of mixed mash feelings. And it wasn't until my second playthrough when I started to fully understand exactly what was going on.
Well, the first time I ever heard about it, Mass Effect 2 was already out, and I was starting to read a little bit about that. And it seemed very interesting to me. The setting seemed interesting. I knew who the company was who made it. I knew Seth Green was in it. And I saw that the second game had been getting absolute rave reviews. And so I ended up going ahead and getting the first one. Actually, I think I played the demo for the second one before I ever even played the first one. But this was, it didn't work at all on the computer I was playing it on, but I still loved it. Like, I could tell it was kind of the best thing. And so I went ahead and got the first game, and obviously it was absolutely fantastic because I had already played Knights of the Old Republic and been a big fan of that game. And so, you know, it was a natural evolution to Mass Effect, and I had a lot of fun with it, and really.
My first impression was like this was like the first gun-based video game that I actually really enjoyed, because it had like story to go along with it. It wasn't just like shoot, bang, dead thing on ground, caveman,
oh, kill.
It was an army of
not
two.
Like Call of Duty or like something like that. It had like a really rich story, and I was like, what are these blue people?
Why do I feel oddly attracted?
Why are they all women?
What is happening to me? I don't get it.
All of these answers and more.
So my first time to play, I actually jumped right into Mass Effect 2. It had just come out as well. And I had gone to the game store and was looking for something to play, and the guy said, hey, so what kind of games do you like? And I said, I like KOTOR. And he said, anything else? And I'm like, not really. It's just kind of KOTOR.
Fuck the other games.
Right. Like, there are games besides KOTOR? Blasphemy. And so he said, you know what, I think you really like this Mass Effect. Here, take this one. This game stands alone. I think you can play it and it'll be just fine. So I got Mass Effect 2 with Genesis. And I remember going through Genesis and not having a damn clue what I was doing. Like, it just didn't make sense to me. I do remember, however, that, because I thought I was going to represent the sisterhood, I did choose Ashley in Genesis, not knowing that I would later regret that choice. I know. Because I was like, gotta keep the sisterhood real! I don't need to keep this guy, I don't know who he is. And then I played, like, the first maybe 30 minutes of the game. Got all the way up to the first time that you're in combat, and I just couldn't do it. It was so hard. I had never played a shooter before at that point. I didn't know how to aim. I was used to, just kind of toggle over and hit a button and everything was an auto attack. So I stopped and I thought, I'm not even going to bother with this. And then back in like April of this year, another friend of mine said, hey, you know what? You really like Dragon Age. You should play Mass Effect. And I was like, oh, no, I tried that before. It wasn't any fun at all. And they're like, no, just sit down, give it a try. Start with Mass Effect 1. And I kind of got through it, and I got a little lost at Eden Prime, and I was starting to get frustrated, and they said, just trust me, get past the Prothean beacon, and you'll understand why you want to play this game. And so I got to the point where Caden goes rushing up, and Shepard goes rushing up, and she throws him back, and he says Shepard. And it's like, that's when it hit me. I was like, oh my god, that's Raphael Savage. No wonder. Carth Nazi lives!
In another life.
Yeah. And I was,
Carth, what are you doing here?
I know. Like, it was so exciting for me. And that's like, when I was like, this has got to be a good game, because there's no way Carth Nazi would be in a sucky game, and no way Jennifer Hale would be in a sucky game. And so I'm going to try this. And it was probably the best game decision I ever made. So let's talk about our favorite memory, like that one part. If you were to find out tomorrow, because of course it wouldn't be in 7 days, so no one would want to do bad things. But if you were to find out tomorrow that all of Mass Effect was going to be erased except for one scene, which one scene would you want to save? It's a horrible scene.
In all of the games?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in all the games. If you were to lose your memory, if the maker was to come down tomorrow and say you will lose all your memory of Mass Effect except one thing, what would you keep?
Well, first of all, I would fight. Yeah, I would fight.
Be a boss fight, but you'd lose.
Damn, this is a hard one.
I got one.
If I had to choose one,
I'll go.
You want to go?
I'll go.
Well, I think.
Yeah, I'll go.
Punk?
You ready for this? Hold my earrings.
Why you wanna?
Go. Do it.
So, like, towards the ending of Mass Effect 3, where, wait, no, let me change it. Let me change it up. So my favorite part. Yeah,
no take-backsies.
No take-backsies. Okay, I've got this. So my favorite part was after you've played the, whatchamacallit, the, which DLC had Aria? What was it?
Omega.
Omega DLC. Okay, so after you played the Omega DLC,
yeah,
you get, like, her biotic, like, bomb ability thing. My favorite part of the whole entire game was just, like, walking up to a swarm of Cerberus guys, like, one-hit kill, boom! Just, like, 20 people dead.
The fuck out of my game.
Boom! Gone! That's my favorite part. Second favorite would be Caden.
I think I know mine as well.
Yeah. Okay.
So much like DA fans, mine is not necessarily based upon, sentimentality and what's my favorite character interaction moment, which is weird for me actually. But that's because my favorite moment is also not like a combat thing. My favorite moment is more a concept and how it was realized in a way that I love. I love the Ashley Caden decision, because even if it feels like it might not hold a ton of weight, or if it feels like, there's not a whole lot of emphasis placed on it, or whatever have you, it's the simple fact that it's a choice that you have to make where nothing outside of that choice affects it. Like, you can't run one more mission and then save everybody, or you can't, pick the right dialogue option, or have upped your charm skill appropriately. It's a tough choice you have to make with no right answer, and either way, they're going to make you feel awful about it, and that's one of the things that I think I love about BioWare games, is the things where you have to make a difficult choice, that's completely outside of your control. And then live with it.
And it's beautiful.
That is the truth. Got one, Evan?
I do, besides
Okay.
any Vanguard biotic ability. If I had, because for real, let's admit it, charging forward through a magic space bubble and smashing into somebody's face is the best thing.
Choo!
But if I had to choose from all the games, something that is probably most memorable to me would have to be the entirety of the Citadel DLC.
How did I
Because-
forget?
Because not only was it just beautiful in almost every
All the
single
feels.
way, but
I'll-
yes, all of the feels, like it brought back all the feels from the previous games, from stuff that had literally just happened. It just brought back everything and put it into one beautiful piece of art. And besides that, it was one of the only DLCs in any game that I actually went through and played like more than the rest of the series itself. Like I would go back just to do Citadel again in just different ways. I think I spent at least half the time that I spent playing Mass 3 just redoing Citadel.
I love how you can bring Rex with you on that. I'm just like, oh, yes!
Yes.
And I love how Shepherd. I can't do it like you guys can.
Shepherd. That was still the best intro for anybody ever and anything in the entire universe. Just having Rex burst out of the well, just window and then body slam what is essentially about 12 tons of floating metal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I brought you along in the first place. You were badass, Rex. Badass.
This is why I chose not
But
to
he's
shoot
so
you.
lovable and cute at the same time.
He is.
And also deadly.
Just gotta love
Yeah.
him.
Brings a tear to my eye.
I know, right? So many feels. My favorite part is actually character interaction, and it is a feelsy moment. I have always been a fan of the concept of redemption. It's always been my favorite thing to play out, because I like to see characters who make bad decisions and are then able to make up for it. So with that alone, you should be able to guess that I'm about to talk about Mordin. I love the fact that he carried this guilt about Genevieve.
Get him a box of
And he had
tissues
such
out, yo.
devotion. I know, right? Like,
Oh, boy.
start
Here
crying
we
now,
go.
guys.
Here we go on the
but-
feels train.
I know, right? He carried this guilt about this thing that he caused, and it was a motivator for him. It wasn't like oh, things are getting bad now, so now I need to think about fixing things. It was I kind of got the feeling that he had regretted it for a very long time, if not since it happened, you know? But he worked towards a solution, and then in the end, it was self-sacrifice to fulfill it. And there was something so beautiful about that. The first time that I played through to that point, I hadn't really done a lot of talking to Mordin, because he was a little fast-paced and a little hard for me to keep up with, so I talked to him as much as I had to. But even then, watching him go up and singing the song as everything goes down, I was a mess. So then my second playthrough, I made sure that I talked to him. I got every little bit of details I could get from him, and it was... I still can't play that without crying my eyes out. It's such an emotional moment, and it's so beautiful and so poignant, you know? Can you believe that? We're talking about a game that's set in space, a space game that has moments in it that are beautiful and poignant. Who else can do that?
I wish that wasn't surprising, though, and that's what I love about BioWare, is they make the kinds of games that you would think everyone would be wanting to make, where you actually leave some emotional resonance on the audience, and you make them remember things fondly, or maybe not so fond.
You have strong feels
Why would
either
you
way,
want
yeah.
to make a form of art? Why would you want to make a
Right.
form of art where you don't leave a strong impact on the audience?
Or change them. And that's something you can say, especially about Mass Effect. You play this game, and there is something inside of you that changed. I dare say no one's ever played that game and didn't learn a lesson about something. You know, I learned how to be a badass motherfucker the first time I played that. I have never been badass one day of my life. I have never punched a person. I've never slapped a person. I've never thrown anyone against the wall. I've never been a strong, leading female in my own life. But that first time I played as Femshep, dude, I was the most badass motherfucker in the galaxy.
Who's
And that-
Femshep dude again?
Oh.
Femshep,
your life
comma,
changed when
dude,
you
comma.
headbutted a Krogan.
I'm about to headbutt a Tyler over here.
For me,
but you know what I mean? Like...
I like this human.
Miranda's butt sexually confused me.
Miranda's butt sexually confused everybody. I
Yeah,
think.
it was
beautiful. You know, I didn't like Miranda. I know, right? It took me a long time to even be able to stand Miranda. Because she was everything I didn't like, but even that I had to like in the end. In the end, I had to respect the fact that that she had motivation too, you know? Like, it wasn't the motivation I wanted. I kind of got tired of her being like, I'm perfect all the time. Because I'm like, you're not perfect. You were flawed because you're incomplete, you know?
That's what changed my opinion about her, is because when you're first introduced to Miranda, you're kind of like, wow, she's kind of a bitch. And over the course of the game, and then the game after that, it went from, wow, she's just an awful person, to, wow, I mean, she's not exactly the best person, but she has a goal. She has a reason for doing things that she does, and she wants to, you know, change all of the stuff, and, you know, the whole sister thing, that was nice.
Yeah. I have a question. What is your favorite funny moment from Mass Effect?
Oh boy.
All of Citadel.
All of Citadel.
Okay, that'll be the easiest one, but I feel like one that I always go to first, if I were to choose one funny moment, it would have to be, off the top of my head, headbutting a Krogan. Because like everything else is funny, and I could go on and on about all of the funny, awesome things that happen. But whenever I think about it, the number one on the list that always just kind of pops up, because it was most memorable for me, was just having this serious conversation, trying to debate with these, you know, giant frog warmongers, and then just saying, you know what, shut up, headbutt. And then they're like, well, this fixes everything.
My favorite would have to be the legendary Shepherd Shuffle.
Oh god! Oh god!
Yes, just that reoccurring.
We can't have this podcast without addressing the Shepherd Shuffle. Like, that's just not cool.
All right, Tyler is now our background music. This is actually this is actually all we're talking about. We're going to talk about the Shepherd Shuffle and how it
Do you
impacted
still need
us.
me to do background music? Because I'll do that literally the entire time.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
It's a pretty easy song to remember.
Okay. Let's just give you 10 seconds to do that. Chachi, I need you to keep looping that and then just have it in the background.
And Evan, while I'm doing that, I need you to do the noise that goes in the background.
You do realize you could probably find the actual audio file for the song, right?
Don't be ridiculous, DA fan. That is way too little work.
Yeah, so my favorite, or I think the funniest parts of the game, or it's pretty much anything that ends in, that was a joke, Shepard. Freaking loved eating. You know, I love it when the collectors take the ship and she's guiding Joker through the ship. And at one point he says something like, "Oh, another duck," and she was like, "I enjoy the sight of a human on their knees." That was maybe the funniest part of that whole entire thing.
Can we just say that Edie was probably one of the best characters?
Okay, but better than any of the lines that she has is the reaction on Shepard's face after the comment that she makes in Mass 3 about how she only forgets to recycle the oxygen when she discovers something truly interesting. And then Shepard just makes a perfectly meme-worthy face for upwards of 3 seconds until she goes, "That was a joke."
That was a joke, Shepard. Yeah. Gotta love it.
Oh, she's just the best.
You know, at first I didn't know about her. I was like, I don't know, is this just some excuse to have some sexy robot on the ship? And then she became maybe my favorite character, like out of all of ME3.
Yeah, I know what you mean. At first I did kind of question the choice to put her in a sexy robo-body in ME3.
Yeah.
And I still, to some extent, question that just based on like a design standpoint. But I do think giving an artificial intelligence that was previously just a computer a physical body did raise some interesting questions, and they did bother to at least ask those questions over the course of the game. So I have to give them some kudos for that.
Exactly.
Although I never really used Edie.
She's so cool!
I did,
Yeah,
you know
not
what?
as much.
If you... doesn't she have to go with you in the end when you go...
Cyberspace.
To the cyberspace? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that mission.
And there's one part in there that kind of like hit me like a ton of bricks. When the elusive man comes up on the holograph and he's talking, and he says something to her, asking her about her motives, you know, how she would turn on him. And there's this moment when she kind of pauses, and then she looks back down, like you can tell she's contemplating. And I was like, holy shit, Edie is contemplating. You know, how far has she
like
come?
Like Legion and Emmy too.
Holy
When you
crap.
ask him a question and he goes, there was a hole. And then you ask him the same question again. No, really, why are you wearing my armor? There were easier options. And then he just sits there for a straight 5 seconds and says that that they haven't reached consensus.
Yeah.
Like he's basically like, I got nothing, man.
Got nothing.
There was a hole. I don't know what you want from me. There was a hole, and I like you. We're friends. And it's like, yes, Legion. Especially with the arc they give him by the end of ME3, where he asks,
don't even go there.
Does this unit have a soul?
God. Can I just say, by the way, that besides BioWare being amazing, one of the things that I loved about the Mass Effect series as a whole was not only were they able to make characters like Edie and Legion, who are essentially just really smart computers.
Yeah.
They made them not only enjoyable characters, but they made them human to the point where, like Edie and Legion, I almost didn't see them as constructs. I just saw them as somebody
how
who's
they were born
in a body.
And you know what? That's a very good point to make too. And we all know that BioWare is very on top of social issues, and with AI of all things, there is a very interesting point. Who cares how your friend started to be? You know how they were born or what their life circumstances are, as long as they're your friend. I mean, over the course of the game, that's what's so amazing about Mass Effect as opposed to any other sci-fi universe, is if you look at, for example, Star Wars or Star Trek, each species and planet, they'll go, all of the things that live on this planet are this way, and all of the things that live on this planet wear funny hats. Mass Effect, you have a crew full of aliens and AI on your ship, and they're all just regular people. Like, you can have a conversation with any of them and totally get where they're coming from, and they'll still be a good friend to you, because it doesn't matter if they're green, or have fangs and mandibles, or if one has friggin' wings. They're still just people.
Or sexy, scaly skin.
Yeah, they're still just people. Like in real life, it doesn't matter if someone is gay, or black, or 8 feet tall, or 600 pounds. They're still just a person. None of that matters.
It's not easy being blue.
That is why I would love to live in that kind of future.
So
or
true.
frog.
Where people actually understand that, yeah.
Like it brings you to a new sort of understanding. It's not like these are aliens. It's just like these are people. They just look funny.
Exactly.
Who is your true OTP love interest of the entire series?
I know that answer.
God damn it.
Caden.
I have so many.
Caden.
Just pick one, your favorite one.
Caden.
Caden.
I mean, I feel like there's time to talk about it a little bit, probably, right? If you
Yeah,
feel
you
you
can
need
talk about
to.
it, so... Yeah. Yeah, why Caden?
Besides Caden.
Caden.
Caden, why, though? What about
Caden.
Caden? Okay, clearly your answer will be uncomplicated.
Caden.
Mine is very complicated.
Okay, what is it?
Well, because, okay, if I were just to say true, OTP, just through the roots of what I did for my main playthrough, it would be Liara, because that's what I did. But as a whole, there are so many characters that I have romanced. Yes, and I'll get to that. There's just so many characters that I romanced because I wanted to see all of them, and most of the ones that I really enjoyed, they stuck to me as much as Liara did. But Liara was just my Liara was just my go-to because that was my main playthrough, and there's reasons behind that. But if could I have like a top 3?
Caden.
No. Just one.
Then if we're just answering, then it's gonna be Liara.
Okay.
So,
Because of main playthrough purposes.
mine is also Liara, and my reason for that is a bit complicated. I think Liard is really cool. I feel like I would actually like Tali a lot better, and like Tali would actually be a better option for me personally. Here's the thing. The knowledge in Mass Effect 3 that if left alone, Tali and Garrus will in fact romance each other, I found to be so fitting and adorable that I couldn't possibly romance them. So let that sink in for a second.
Yes.
The characters in these games are so good that I didn't want to ruin the romantic chances of my fictional dinosaur 8-foot-tall best friend, and so I changed my options accordingly. Do you know how incredibly poignant that is?
You know what that's called? That's called being the best wingman.
Yeah, you are like the best
Because you know what?
wingman.
Because Garrus has been the best wingman to you over the course of 3 games.
Real.
So are you really not going to be the best wingman for him once or twice? Like his loyalty mission and that. 2 things he asks of you. I can't deny him one of those 2 things.
Exactly.
Although I don't let him shoot the guy. I do go on that mission because I'm not a psychopath.
I let him shoot him. It's cool.
Of course you did.
Of course I do. Okay.
Mage killer.
Really? Okay, so
Caden.
my OTP... my OTP is the only one that I feel not only begins beautifully, but ends beautifully. And there isn't one rough patch in between, Mr. Caden, okay? Not one rough. It is nothing but beauty from beginning to end.
I know who it is, Dan.
Yeah, and...
Say it.
And the way that it begins... Okay, hold on. I have to go back. When I first romanced this person, I didn't even know they were a romance option. So I did not know what I was getting into. And all of a sudden, we're holding hands. And all of a sudden, he's talking to me very sweetly. And all of a sudden, I'm learning everything about him. And again, from the beginning, when I thought I was just being his really good friend, till the end, when he ultimately dies.
Oh, I remember who you're talking about now.
There is nothing more beautiful to me than the Thane romance. It is perfection. It really is.
Excuse me while I go have a bunch of feels real quick.
I know. Let's just feels all over the carpet here. I mean, even in the end, when you find out, because I had romance Caden, right? And then I romanced Thane after Horizon. And again, not knowing that's where it was going. And like when you go to the hospital and he's there and he's dying, and he implies that him and Caden talked about you guys. And then he knows, that Caden knows that you've cheated, whatever you want to call it, on him with Thane. And Thane's reaction is, I'm going to take care of him. I was like, dude, slay me right now. He's going to take care of him. He was going to keep an eye out on him. This dude's dying. Fucking on his last leg of life. And all he can think is, I'm going to take care of your boyfriend. Seriously.
Caden.
Would you like to elaborate?
Caden.
Chachi, I was under the impression that at some point or another you were actually a Garrus-mancer.
I am a Garrus-mancer too, but I still think the Thane romance.
I knew that yours would
beautiful.
either be Thane or Caden.
So Chachi, if that's what gives you feels just based on the regular Mass Effect 3, need I remind you of the Thane funeral in ME3 in Citadel?
God, why did you have to bring that out?
Oh
my
This
God.
happened, and now that's where we all are.
I'm
Wait,
crying now.
I think I can salvage us.
I don't think
Okay.
you can.
Please bring up another question that doesn't make me cry.
No, that was the last question. This is the tone we're ending on. Happy
No!
anniversary, everybody.
I refuse.
What was your most difficult decision throughout the entire series?
Oh.
Or, if not difficult, one of the most difficult?
Okay, I know mine. It was.
Alright, you
It
want to go?
was the Krogan, whether or not to lie to them and get Solarian support, because the first time I played Mass Effect 3, I did not have Rex alive because I had only started on Mass Effect 2, so I didn't know who Rex was. So I was like, oh, okay, I don't know. And so, so I was like, right, if I like give the Krogan like the belief that they're cured, it's like a placebo effect maybe, and then I get Solarians, and then we don't all die, right? Good.
Are you assuming that they were going to placebo themselves into having
They did
babies?
in the end. They did.
though?
It took a little longer, but they did.
Whatever helps you sleep at night, DA Ben. You totally extincted.
No, like I saw in the epilogue.
I gotta be honest, this is kind of a hard question for me to answer. So I'm gonna give what is probably the most controversial answer.
Okay.
Which is, regardless of any of our feelings on the endings and whether the choices were good, whether there even should have been choices there, whether the outcomes were illustrated appropriately, you can ask those questions all day. I don't find that you can argue, though, whether you thought the choices were valid or not, that is the hardest choice you have to make the entire time. Because you spend the entire time thinking, what'll happen is I killed the Reapers and then the dead. And instead it's like, actually, funny story, you have to pick a horrible outcome. One of these horrible outcomes. Things will not end the way you want them to. Pick the way they will end. And then I was like, By the way, full disclosure, first playthrough, and so far I think actually maybe only full playthrough, I didn't get to pick the green one, so I had to choose control or destroy. And I am now a fervent control defender, even with synthesis included, probably because that was such a traumatic experience that I now feel like I have to defend it, even though on another level it does kind of seem right to me. So yeah, that was a pretty
we had that discussion, and I can definitely see why control in some aspects can be the better or best outcome.
Fleet of shepherds,
which is scary. So in the end, your hardest or most traumatizing one, I guess, was the ending.
The ending itself.
The ending was
complete with the sad piano music.
I like that, but I think I can actually beat it. Maybe. If this doesn't come second to the ending, I don't know what's wrong with you people.
Caden.
Right, so is that your way of saying you want to go next?
Yep.
Okay.
Caden.
If you're gonna rewrite the Geth or not.
Oh.
Right. I forgot about that.
So painful, sitting there going, oh God, what do I do?
Do you brainwash people or murder people, and which is worse?
Which is what that is. Either brainwash.
That was definitely one of them.
Yeah, but you had to sit there and make that decision. Do I rewrite every single one of these Geth? And do I, again, essentially brainwash them? Or do I destroy? That was such a hard decision. And I was just like, I want Legion to make this for me. I don't want to make this choice. Because it doesn't affect me. It isn't me. It's Legion, you know? And God, that was...
You don't want to be your usual imperialist monster self.
Oh, God damn it, Tyler!
So what you're saying is, if you met Wynn before you went to the circle, you would have destroyed everyone.
Wynn, just take care of the mages for me. I don't know. It's your
mage killer.
Hashtag
we still
mage
love
killer.
you.
I know.
Right. So, go on.
No, I was just gonna say it was. I got to the point where you had to make that decision, and it was like 1 o'clock in the morning, something stupid like that, because I was just slamming back the games. And I had to put down the controller and go outside and take a deep breath and consider
Mom,
this
what are you
and go,
outside for?
God, what is going on here? You know, how do I do this? That was such a tough choice for me, you know?
It's one of those moments where you actually have to sit down and be like, wait, hold on, just pause the universe, and you think,
wait, what are my options again? What's the good choice? I thought I had a good guy choice.
Exactly. I didn't feel like either of them were a good guy choice, you know? I'm sitting there going, because normally you can tell. Here's a Paragon, here's a Renegade, and sometimes there's the in-between. And I was like, both of those, I don't like them. And it was
that
was definitely one of mine.
Troubling part of the game.
Yeah, go ahead,
right.
fire away.
Remember the part where remember in the first game you had like a grenade launcher attached to your gun? Or like you had the grenades, you could throw all of that stuff?
Right.
Like you could throw the little grenades.
Yeah.
And remember, there was a mission in the first game where the actual townspeople had been controlled by the Thorian, and you had a certain number of gas grenades, and you could use them to save the townspeople. And if you ran out, you just had to murder them with your space guns. And so it's like, if you miss a little bit with a grenade, next thing you're murdering actual named characters. And you're like, oh God, my incompetence at combat has just made me murder a village of innocents.
So yours isn't more of a hardness of choice, it's more of a hardness of choosing who should be shepherd.
That's not even who I think is the hardest choice. I just think that remembering that moment, I remember how traumatic it was for me to realize that I mean, later I found out that if you just kind of do that animation where you punch them in the face, I'm pretty sure they survive. But at the moment, I was like, oh god, I have no way of saving these people. I just screwed them all because I'm bad at grenades. I am the worst commander. I am unfit to lead. Caden, you're up, buddy.
Right.
Caden.
Caden.
Alright, is it my turn?
Mm-hmm.
Since Chachi took one of them, even though it wasn't one of the ones that I was going to choose, I think even to this day, one of the hardest decisions I had to make, just because it still sticks with me to this day when it comes to Mass Effect decision making, was in the very first game where I had to choose whether to kill the queen or let her go and repopulate her species. That was hard for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was really hard.
Because, the good guy part of me is like, I gotta give these guys a chance, she could be really good. Or I could be like, hey, how about I just finish this genocide?
Well, I think we know which option Antics of Anthony picked. # kill the spawnies.
Yeah. Looking at you, buddy.
Yeah,
Because some people don't believe in second chances.
Yeah, but like, in the end, I did choose to, in my main playthrough, I did choose to let her live. Of course.
Of course.
But regardless, even if the clear-cut answer for good people is to give them the second chance, it's just that choice alone, like you, Chachi, I had to like put down the controller and kind of stop and think for a minute, because I'm like, alright, I could either do what could technically be the smart choice and, finish the species off for good, or give it a chance and maybe risk the possibility of them being evil and taking over the entire galaxy.
Gosh, right?
But we all know that doesn't matter in the end because they come back as evil Reaper things anyway.
Yeah, you're fucked if you do it now. Really quickly, I do want to tell you guys, even though this recording is coming to a close, this audio file will live on even longer, because we have asked some of our friends to contribute some words, let us know a little bit about, or letting us know a little bit about what Mass Effect means to them. So please continue on listening. You might hear some friends of yours as well. But yeah, keep listening and hear a little bit more about what Mass Effect means to people.
I should go. Caden.
Happy N7 Day. This is Fairy Dragon. There is so much to love about the Mass Effect games. I think each game seems to have its own personality, and I love the ensemble casts of the characters. Such great characters. And I love the music that drives the story and haunts me sometimes, and sometimes keeps me from starting the game because I have to listen to the theme while it's playing before I can push the play button and continue. There are so many memories wrapped up in the music and in the games themselves. I love getting to be whoever I want. I almost forgot to mention Femshep because she's become the default for me. I'm so used to having those options from BioWare now. And I kind of love that. Thank you. These games, I think they wouldn't be the same if I did not follow the developers on Twitter and see how much they care about the games that they make and how much they just care about the world that we live in. And I don't know if that gets acknowledged enough. It's really important to me. One of my favorite memories from the games is Mordin singing Scientist Solarian, for all the obvious reasons that it's just fabulous, and also because I felt really goofy because I always imagined that my favorite, Jamie Shepard, loved Sondheim, and it just kind of felt silly that this futuristic sci-fi character would love Sondheim music. And then Mordin busts out the Gilbert and Sullivan, and suddenly there is a place for me in this galaxy, for dorky me. And I think that's a big thing about the games, is that there is a place for all of us there. So thank you for inviting us all to the party. My name is Fairy Dragon, and I'm a shepherd.
When I first played the Mass Effect trilogy, I was having family troubles. In fact, I remember just finishing the first Mass Effect right before I stopped talking to my parents and both of my siblings. So when I started Mass Effect 2, I knew exactly how my shepherd felt. I knew what it was like to be shot out into space, to be alone, gasping for air, because that's what it felt like to lose my family. That loneliness Shepard must have felt after being raised from the dead and having no one by your side. By the time I got to playing Mass Effect 3, my 16-year-old daughter decided to live with her father, leaving me heartbroken. For me, the last Mass Effect was getting my Shepard over that last hurdle, getting her to save the galaxy, because it felt like that's all I had left to do. It seems I notoriously find a BioWare game just when I need it the most. If it weren't for Mass Effect, I wouldn't have had the outlet that I needed, or found the community that keeps me moving forward. So my name is Tinker Queen, and I am a shepherd.
For N7 Day, I thought I would regale you on one of my first Mass Effect memories. It was the first game, and I had just reached the Citadel, and I saw this giant floating jellyfish. And I thought to myself, can I just stare at him for the rest of the game? And then I learned that there was an even greater jellyfish named Blasto. Like everyone else, I loved the lore, the story, and the characters of Mass Effect. I liked Jacob. I know, Jacob. I've gone through some recent troubles, and replaying the Mass Effect trilogy has really helped me out. So to the Mass Effect team, and BioWare overall, thank you so much. I am Sam I Am, and I'm a shepherd.
N7 Day. What does that mean to me? Well, it means Mass Effect. It means laughter, it means fun, it means many different emotions. Mass Effect was one of the first futuristic RPGs that I'd ever played. Almost didn't buy it. The first Mass Effect, I wasn't even sure I would want to enjoy it. But reviews looked so good that, well, I got it on sale, so I had to try it. Boy, was I missing a lot by not playing it. It was so unique to have actually more than superficial dialogue with NPCs. I could become totally immersed in the story and feel like I had relationships with these characters. It was like being in a really, really good book, except that I was affecting things. I was affecting change. I was affecting consequences of choices. I enjoyed the humor and banter between characters. I looked forward to sitting down in front of the computer each time to continue playing the game, to laugh, and yes, sometimes feel sad. In fact, I liked the first game so much that I had to buy the second, and whatever DLC was available for it. And then I pre-ordered and bought the third game, and all the DLC that came with that. I laughed so hard at times, and then I could feel sad at times. Especially when one game ended. It felt like you were losing something, like you lost your friend. And then the next game started, and then it was, yes! Shepard's back! And you could continue playing, and the people that you knew from the first game would follow through to the second game, and you could continue relationships and friendships. And regardless of whether I was laughing or feeling sad, the games were such a rich and varied experience. I am so glad that I played these games. The universe of Mass Effect is such a diverse, unique universe, and the complete humor in these games just really, really made them even more enjoyable. Playing Mass Effect got me into Dragon Age. Mass Effect was a catalyst to propel me forward. I can't say enough about how much I enjoyed these games, and Mass Effect 4, I am so looking forward to that fourth in this series. On this N7 Day, Mass Effect, I think I might even go back and replay it again.
To me, Mass Effect is one of the best series of games that I have ever played. It has a fantastic story with amazing and unique characters that help shape the series by creating a real, organic, and alive world through their well-written and beautifully voice-acted dialogue. The Mass Effect games work because BioWare gives your Shepard a ship, the Normandy, and then stuffs it full of unique and memorable teammates. It isn't the world, the combat, or even the plot. It's the people who make the story we're following. By the time Mass Effect 3 turns the corner to its final stretch, you fought, bled, laughed, loved, and cried with this collection of humans and aliens for so long that it really does feel like the crew are friends, and that you are the cause of that friendship by bringing the crew together and helping them become more than just random individuals, but a family. In my playthrough of the entire series, the things I most wanted to experience again and again were the personal character bits, most of which weren't even important plot points. In Mass Effect, I wanted to listen to Ashley, Garrus, and Tali joke with each other during the Citadel's unbelievably long elevator rides. In Mass Effect 2, I wanted to watch Mordin and Shepard in the research lab as Mordin talks about art and sings Gilbert and Sullivan. More than anything else in Mass Effect 3, I wanted to watch Shepard shoot bottles with Garrus, teach Liara the meaning of relaxation, and rekindle his romance with Ashley while regaining her trust. All in all, it was the character moments that I really wanted to play again and again. The teammate interactions that I was drawn to became more common as the series continued, to the point where it feels like the third game was absolutely swimming in rich, warm character moments. The parts that made me stop and smile the most were when the crew talked to each other. It made the ship feel alive and made my squad mates seem real rather than just cardboard cutouts waiting for Shepard to saunter by and kick off another dialogue reel-driven conversation. When Garrus rejoins the crew in Mass Effect 3, you can swing by Liara's cabin to find her talking to him on the radio, asking if he's alright after seeing his homeworld burning. It's nice to see your friends, well, becoming friends themselves and caring about each other. For those moments, it didn't matter that Saren, the Collectors, or even the Reapers were destroying planets. You just want to listen and interact with the crew of the Normandy. In Mass Effect 3, you'll find the crew spending time in different spots on the ship. They'll be hanging out on the couches, joking and telling their adventures, looking out the windows, playing poker, and even drinking with each other. They're not just manning their posts like automatons, they're living. It makes the Normandy feel homey, almost like a shinier version of Firefly's Serenity. The ship and her crew are a refuge. It gets cozier and safer as the game goes on and the galaxy tears itself apart. Even with the ever-present threat of cosmic annihilation bearing down, Shepard's friends are there, ready to tell a joke, or just sit back and watch the stars with you. These captivating character moments aren't confined to Mass Effect 3, of course, though it has the most of them. The very reason that the third game is able to have so many powerful moments is because the previous two invested the time and effort into character building. The series uses the luxury of time to allow you to befriend the crew and let the crew be changed by your actions. Mordin Solus is a perfect example. He's given an interesting introduction, but as Mass Effect 2 progresses, the more aspects of his personality are filled in, and as the character begins to grow and change, Mordin's backstory is one of the most realistic and engaging out of all of them, making his fate in the third game that much more powerful. He expresses regret over how his scientific work has been used, reflecting on the dead female Krogan during his loyalty mission. He moralizes and justifies the Krogan genophage, then later comes to realize that some things cannot be moralized. Mordin's almost, but not quite inevitable death is well orchestrated and a key dramatic moment in the entire series. A minor character dying in the same way wouldn't have carried nearly the same emotional weight. Another example is Jack. Her growth from a violent psychopath to a leader is a gratifying transformation, and it is all thanks to Shepard's influence. Jack doesn't save an entire species and end a centuries-old conflict, but she does transform into a likable character. Watching her guide her own group of biotic students through a Cerberus attack in Mass Effect 3 is rewarding. Even as the galaxy burns, Shepard can still save people indirectly through his protégés. Amidst the galactic-scale war and shattering of whole worlds, Mass Effect 3 finds time to feature Shepard's squad mates in a handful of quiet and perfect moments. Liara delivering her time capsule to Shepard's cabin and reminiscing, shooting bottles with Garrus and letting him win, Ashley checking up on Shepard and being his rock and support throughout the game, the long goodbyes with key characters before the final battle, and the Citadel Dlc. Throughout the series, it becomes apparent that the story was never about Commander Shepard winning the war against the Geth, or about the Collectors, or about Cerberus, or about the Reapers. It was about the journey, and about the friends you meet along the way. Your crew is the story. I loved every single minute that I've spent with all 3 games. That is why Mass Effect means so much to me. Besides being one of the best series of video games that I have ever played, it is the pinnacle of video game storytelling and is hands down my favorite video game trilogy. I eagerly await with my fellow fans to see what BioWare has in store for the future of Mass Effect. I'm Benjamin Laws, and I'm a Shepard.
Hi, I'm Meg, and I'm a Shepard. So, last week I had a really rough day. You know, like you do. Stress at work, or, trouble with family, or whatever. So it had just kind of been a long day, and I came home and I was just feeling rough, and my roommate wasn't in, and so I made some dinner and I poured a glass of wine and I curled up on the couch with my snuggliest blanket and I put in Mass Effect 3. And it was the first time that I had put it in months, probably. And from the moment that sound, that tone that plays as the press start button menu flashes, as soon as I heard that, I was just kind of overwhelmed with all of the reasons why I love that game and the whole franchise, and how important Shepard has been to me, what an inspiration she has been, and just how encouraging it is to know that there is a company like BioWare out there willing to put out this content that is so diverse and thoughtful and well written and well acted and beautifully produced, and not only that, like, it's not only those good things, but it's real meaningful content. There are moments in my life that I can really look back to that story and those characters, and I can think about the choices that they made, the choices that we made together, and I can apply that in some weird way to my own life, and what a gift that is. So yeah, thanks BioWare. Thank you everyone, from the bottom to the top, who've worked all these years to put out such incredible pieces for us. I am so grateful for the Mass Effect trilogy. I am so grateful for Commander Shepard, and I cannot wait to see what is coming next. So yeah, thank you. I hope you have a very happy N7 day.
My favorite thing about Mass Effect is the characters, and the bonds that you form with them over the series. I'm DA fan, and I am Shepard.
So, I guess my favourite aspect of Mass Effect was, as I'm sure it was for a lot of people, the development of Shepard's character. Controversial to what I believe is the majority feeling on the matter, I believe that the endings available in Mass Effect 3 actually worked quite well with the character that Shepard had become by that point. All through the game, we had to make choices and then see the repercussions of those choices, whether Paragon or Renegade. And sometimes none of those choices were all that favourable, though I think more of Shepard's choices should have been reflected in the ending. But I do love the fact that you were able to really engage with the character, and by Mass Effect 3 you had really began to experience the game as if you were your own Shepard. I mean, come on, if you didn't cry at Mordin's sacrifice, you have a heart of stone. So yeah, I really enjoyed that aspect, being able to really engage with my own character. Of course, I love the DLC, especially in 3. I think BioWare totally outdid themselves with Citadel and Leviathan. I could even go so far as to say it was my favourite DLC content in any game I have played, except maybe Bioshock Infinite. The humour, like poor live bait Joker and Trainer with her toothbrush, the storylines throughout the game, and yeah, just the general gameplay, it was absolutely amazing. And of course the added romance scenes, which at that point in the story I think all our shepherds deserved. So yeah, I was blown away by the DLC. And lastly, of course, the companions. This is the first game I've actually played of this style that I have liked all of the characters available. Usually some people end up getting left behind the entire game after their recruitment. I won't name names, though I usually have to have at least Rex or Grunt, depending on which game, or Garrus in the party. I loved how Shepard grew as a character, but how the characters grew with Shepard. The companions grew in depth, which, by the goddess, I felt Liara definitely needed after Mass Effect 1, and of course how their interactions changed as their relationship developed with Shepard. So yeah, those are my favourite aspects, as well of course loving the gameplay style. The interface I wasn't too keen on, but we can all live with that. Okay, so I should go. I'm Dynamite and I'm a Shepard.
I just love when fandoms come together and do something great, and N7 Day is definitely a great example of that. I mean, even how it was picked was very clever, considering that N7 was the elite military group that Shepard was a part of, so it only made sense that November 7th be N7 Day. And it's just so great to see so many different fans of just so many different walks of life come together to celebrate a very well written and very powerful game like Mass Effect. And it's funny because a lot of people know me as more of a Dragon Age fan than Mass Effect, even though Mass Effect was the game that I played beforehand out of the two fandoms. And there's just so much to it story-wise. They took a major chance with Mass Effect, given it was maybe not the first attempt at a shooter/RPG, but it was the first successful attempt at that kind of style of game. And they took a major risk with it, and it definitely paid off, considering that you also had Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3, and just the huge fandom that spawned from the entire universe. And there's just so much lore involved, and it's just amazing to see this character known as Shepard, who can be anybody. It could be you, it could be me, it's actually just all of us. We all have our own amazing stories to tell. And although BioWare is very much known for having different choices and effects in it, Mass Effect is probably one of the games I'd say you'd see even just in the first, the second, and even though some people try and argue about the third game, that you see the impact of some of your actions and how it affects just the universe, your companions, the people around you, the universe around you. So I'm definitely glad to see that there's a day for celebration for this, because Mass Effect is very important as not only a game but also as a universe, and its fans are also important. Because like I said with the whole story of Shepard, you from the very beginning are faced against impossible odds, but your character is not fazed. No matter what, they set out to do what's right, and nothing, not even impossible odds, are going to stop them. It's very inspiring. And they also tackle so many important subjects that we even face in real life and kind of work it into these games, such as, you know, you have racism in the case of it actually being, for instance, like Ashley. She starts off as kind of an xenophobe. She really doesn't trust the other alien party members, but through some of the actions and dialogue you have, you can kind of get her to trust more in your party members and people that are different around you. And it's just stuff like that that I really appreciate and you don't see happen very often in games. That's one of the reasons why I play BioWare and love them so much as a company. That's also why I really like Mass Effect. Almost as much, but not as much as Dragon Age. But again, that's why it's great to see people come together for stuff like this on N7. At this point, I'm just repeating myself and rambling on. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of share this story. I mean, Mass Effect is definitely very important, I would feel, to future iterations of just different kinds of RPGs. It really kind of set that milestone, something to reach for, to try and attain in terms of not only gameplay but also storytelling, which BioWare definitely excels at.
Hello, I'm GamerGator, and today I'll be doing a commemorative for the game Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. Now, when I first started playing Mass Effect, I didn't play the first game. I played the second game, mostly because I couldn't find the first copy. But when I played the second game, it got me really pulled in with the story, like the characters, your character, your companions, everyone included. And also I love how much detail was put into the game, like the codex entries for all of the planets that you can go and look at. And that's what got me to go and get the first Mass Effect game, was because of Mass Effect 2. Now, when I got Mass Effect 1, it still was interesting because I could just imagine a giant Reaper coming down. Like, every day that I go out, I'm going, you know what, I wonder what a Reaper would look like. And I would just imagine a giant tank coming down from the heavens and just placing its hand on the ground, and I'm going, wow, that would be one of the most incredible things I would see. But when I got to play the third game, it was still interesting. And especially the very ending, like if you got the extended cut, then that's what got it interesting. And then there's characters, your companions. That's another thing that got me interested, was you had all these different types of personalities, all in 3 separate games. Now, when I played Mass Effect 1, there's like Kaidan, Ashley, Rex, about 5 characters. They still had a great story, like Tali included. She was more of a shy person, but then as you get through all 3 games, she's grown and matured. Now that's one of the things that you don't really see in a series. Most of the series nowadays is just same stuff, different pile, pretty much. But that's one thing I love about BioWare games, is it's always changing, always evolving. Then finally when I got to Mass Effect 2, there was Mordin Solus, I believe, I can't remember. But anyways, he had one of the most interesting personalities that I've seen. Like, I'd never really seen a really hyperactive person, or an alien. Well, didn't really see any aliens, but people. But anyways, he was one of the most interesting people I got to know. But then when it came down to killing him, and spoiler alert, killing him in Mass Effect 3, it just broke my heart. You know, like when he had to sacrifice himself. But then there's Garrus. He was another character that was interesting because he was like the black sheep out of his species. He always made questions about every decision. But no, overall, the game really changed my life because it's the one game series that I can go home sit down, relax, and play it. So, what I'm trying to say is, the game affected my life in numerous ways. It got me to open my imagination, and I would like to say thank you to BioWare and everyone there. So, happy N7 Day.
It's not difficult for me to explain how Mass Effect has affected me, but it's sometimes difficult for people to understand it, as so many still perceive video games as, you know, a kid's hobby or something that grown men do in their parents' basements, covered in Cheeto Puffs. But this is not the case anymore. The first Mass Effect game actually came to me at a time when I was having to deal with some very difficult life choices. I was not making good ones, but as I was playing through the game, I found that I was making the choices as Shepard the way I wanted to make choices in my own life. And as I continued to play through, it occurred to me that if I wanted to make those changes in my real life, I should just make them. And slowly, over time, I started to. I became more accountable. I started to think things through, because decisions have consequences. Not just leaving Ashley or Caden on Vermeer, but, you know, choices that I made at work, choices that I made raising my son, choices that I made with my parents as they were aging. So I started to become Commander Shepard, or rather I turned myself into the person that I wanted to be by asking myself, if I was playing Mass Effect right now, what would I do as Commander Shepard about this decision? And more often than not, I ended up making the right choices. Now, secondary, but certainly no less significant than the life changes that the game made in me, is discovering the BioWare community. All the amazing people that I've connected through on Twitter have all contributed to helping me be a better person overall, because I've been exposed to so many more viewpoints and possibilities that within the closed community that I have, I wouldn't have ever seen. So all of you have helped to contribute to making me a better person, because you are all great people as well. And that's really what N7 Day means to me, is the community coming together to do great things because of all the great things that happened to me. That might sound a little hokey, and that might sound a little weird or difficult to explain, but I was not a really great person when I was in my teens and most of my 20s, but Mass Effect and the BioWare community has really turned me into a person that I can actually be proud of when I look at the rest of the world now. So I'm Andrew Baker, and I'm a Shepard.
There's no decision in a BioWare game that's haunted me more than Vermeer. The killer is, I knew it was coming. I had come to BioWare gaming late, and Mass Effect was my first. This was back before I'd truly embraced the whole role-playing aspect of RPGs, so I went into Mass Effect more concerned about doing things wrong than I was about spoilers. That's why I learned fairly early that Caden or Ashley wasn't going to make it to the end of the game. Choosing who lived at that point was easy. It would be Caden, who had somehow wormed his way past my initial skepticism and mistrust. I don't say that lightly. This was also before I was aware of how BioWare romances worked, so he actually had to win me over more so than the other way around. I liked Ash, though, so I ran with Team Milky Way for the entire duration of the game, up until Vermeer. When I had to choose which of them to go with, I hesitated. I hesitated for several minutes, even though I'd already made my decision. When I finally picked Caden, it took me a little while to realize the horrifying truth. That hadn't been the final choice. The impending dread clawed at my chest with every passing moment. Every shot fired brought us closer to the inevitable. And then there it was, the dialogue wheel I'd been fearing. I sat and stared at my monitor for at least 10 minutes. I couldn't do it. The agony was unbearable, but I just couldn't go through with it. Eventually I did, of course, but the numbness didn't go away. It lingered for the rest of the game. I used a save editor to get Ashley in Mass Effect 2 and 3 on other playthroughs. That was when I first knew that I'd probably never play the first Mass Effect again. There's no way I could face Vermeer a second time, especially not now that I really knew both of them. I've cried enough tears over Mordin. I don't think subjecting myself to that kind of pain again on purpose is a good idea. So, here's to you, Mass Effect team, for creating truly traumatic scenarios that make me love your games all the more. You bastards. My name is Calliope, and I'm a shepherd.
You know, there's something to be said about a game, and a game maker. One that has the ability to change lives with a video game. I can't think of any other franchise that does that. At least not for the better, I'm sure. I'm bigger, better, stronger, and far more badass when I'm Shepard. Those aren't qualities I possess in real life, when I'm dealing with things that are far greater than I can handle. And trust me, none of those things are even half the threat a Reaper can pose. I really think that we need strong characters, ones that are complex and have weaknesses, ones that are strong but also vulnerable. I guess that's what I appreciate the most about Shepard. She's human, she's us. Unequivocally, I'm Chachi and I'm a Shepard too.